Bonjour mesdames et messieurs, in this episode I show you how I shot this beautiful photo of the Hotel Abbé in Paris. Bonjour mesdames et messieurs, my name is Serge Remedy. I'm a French photographer living in what? In the beautiful city of Paris, France. Yes, indeed. And I make 2 tutorials per week. Click here if you want to get the raw file of this episode, and click here if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm giving you all the raw files of every episode that I do. All you have to do is subscribe to my newsletter, on which you will get tons of very good special offers. This week, I'm going to take you to the Hotel Abbé in Paris. But before that, I just want to announce that my new workflow package is out. Last year, I did a workflow course which was very successful, showing you how I used to work in Lightroom 4 and Photoshop CS5, CS6. I've updated that workflow with all kind of new techniques, and it's my workflow bundle. So it's 20 projects that was inspired by my Paris in Spring workshop, and I show you the entire workflow in Lightroom 5 and Photoshop CC. Also, if you buy the 2014 package, you will receive for free the 2013 package workflow. All right, so let me take you to the Hotel Abbé and show you how I retouched this photo. All right, mesdames et messieurs, so it's been a while I didn't show you a full workflow on retouching interior design. I shot this photo with my assistant who actually shot the photo, and I helped him on the retouch of one of my customers I have in Paris called the Hotel Abbé, one of the most beautiful 4-star hotel in Paris. And before I get into the retouching itself, you know, what we were doing with my assistant is trying to find the right spot to shoot the photo. I told him to go into the corners and to be low enough so that he could get, because you know the rooms in Paris are very small, so he could get this area, you know, in view, so that we have the idea. You know, he shot this, I believe, with at 17 millimeter with a 1740, so a very wide angle with a Canon 5D, no, Canon 60, I think. And well, he made a small mistake. He shot it at ISO 400. He should have put it at ISO 100, but it's still fine. And half a second at f9. F9 to make sure everything is sharp. So you know, if we're sitting in front of the bed, it would make everything flat. The fact that we were on the right, on one of the corner, with nothing close in front of the lens very straight and a bit low, so that we could have this area here, so we could see the entire room. Okay, and I'm going to show you the full workflow on how I retouch this photo. And this is how I do most of my photos. So I'm going to open up the shadows and break down the highlights. This you know. The key trick on this photo is the white balance, because white balance can make or destroy a photo. Okay, I'm going to do the white point. So I'm holding on the Alt key and moving to the right. Everything is becoming black, and I want to make sure nothing is burned. So I cannot move the white so much, because if I move it too much, I get blown out windows. I don't want that. I want details on what's going to happen in the windows. So I don't want this. I don't want this to be pure white. You see, if I go the whole way, this is going to be pure white. And I find this not so good. So, you know, I'm just going to move it a little bit. And my black point, I'm going to hold on the Alt key and move to the left until we've got some texture or something like this. Yeah, that's pretty good. So that's the basic retouching. Now, for the white balance, what I like to do is whenever you have something which is white in the room, I can take the Lightroom white balance temperature and I can click either here or here on something that is white. Okay, but the white balance is an artistic decision. Now, this is not very nice because it's kind of cold. So you know what, I'm going to warm it up by taking the blues here a bit to the right and add a bit of magenta to take the green out. Okay, that's already much nicer. Okay, next on this one, I think I'm going to add a bit of clarity so that it pops out, and a bit of vibrance. Okay, and maybe just make it a tiny bit brighter, but not so much. Next, and that's very important, is and what I'm going to show you is a little secret which got me a lot of work from a lot of people. And it's the brush and the whole dodge and burn on making a room. Now on this one, you see there is a window coming here. So whenever there is a window, you can imagine that there is some light being casted on the floor. Now I want to enhance that to give more drama. So I'm going to take a brush. I'm going to make it big. Now that brush, I'm going to go to exposure, make it, you know, a bit more the exposure on the right, flow and density pretty high. That's the strength of the brush. And maybe add a bit of yellow and a bit of, just like if it was, because the sun is yellow. And I'm going to paint here to mimic the sun coming from the window. Something like that. Okay, and lower, maybe it's a bit, no, it's actually not, it's pretty good. Maybe add a bit more magenta. And that's already giving, something nice to this photo. Next thing I'm going to do, one thing I forgot to show you is the noise reduction, the whole detail section, which is sharpening and noise reduction. So let's look at 100%. I mean, this was shot by mistake at ISO 400. It should have been ISO 100. So I'm going to put like 20 of noise reduction. Okay, and I have this formula. I take 100 and I deduct whatever I put in noise. So I'm going to go like about 80. Something like this. And then I'm going to use the masking tool. Now that's very important, the masking tool, and pressing the Alt key on my keyboard, moving to the right until that anything which is flat in the room becomes black, because anything which is black is not going to get sharpened. Only what is white is going to get sharpened. This way we got a pretty sharp photo, but it's not too much grainy. So that's pretty cool. Now we need to make some emotion. We need to make some drama in this room. I've already done that with that ray of light coming from the window, but I want to do it a bit more. So this is the little secret. Oh yeah, before I show you the little secret, I want to go to the basic lens correction, on about the profile correction, remove chromatic aberration in case there is any, and click on auto on the upright. Okay, now when I click on the auto on the uprights, 90% of the time it works well. And in this case, it did not work well. Look, I show you off, auto. It didn't do much. And you see how the cupboard here is not very straight. That's not nice. So you're better off doing it manual. And that's very important because when you do interior design, it's very important. I have proud of that my lens is very straight and that, cupboards or things like this are very straight. So let's go to manual. Okay. And I usually play around with vertical. I want to see when I put my mouse over vertical, I have a grid coming up and I want to align the right cupboard to my grid. So I'm going to move right. And now that's pretty much aligned. It was not a big deal. Not a big deal. But at least we've got something which is straight. Let's look at the distortion. It looks like that it's a bit bumpy. So maybe I'm going to take, if I go on the right, it's going to go be, a bit rounded. And if I go on the left, it's going to be inwarded. It's going to go inward. So I want something like in the middle. So -2 + 5 did the trick. Now it's perfectly, straight. Okay. Now let's add some real drama to this. So to add some drama, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the radial filter. I'm going to go to exposure, and here, for example, on the curtains, I'm going to click invert mask because what I want is when I increase the exposure, I want the exposure to be increased within the circle. Okay, now that's way too much. I'm doing it way too much, so you can see, and then I'm going to feather it a lot. Okay, now that's maybe a bit too much, but I want to add. You see, the whole thing is that when a room is evenly lit everywhere, it's really boring. Now, if I do duplicate and I put this, for example, here on the floor, okay, and make this maybe a bit less strong here, all I'm trying to do is break. I call that breaking the light, meaning that instead of having it totally uniformly lit, it is partially lit. So again, duplicate, and I'm going to put this on the cupboard here. And you see now the cupboard, instead of having just one, lead texture or gradient, now it's a bit better. Now you have to do it in a way so that people don't notice it. So this is very subtle. Okay, let's make it here. It's that's the point. It's like you got to do it in a way so that it's visible, but you got to do it in a way so that it's not too visible. So there's like a very fine line. Because if it's not visible enough, you don't have drama. We want drama. But if it's too visible, it looks completely fake. So, okay, I'm just looking for places where the light is kind of boring, and I'm adding this to complexify the light. Okay, check it out. Before the circles, after the circles. it's just making a more interesting room. All of a sudden, it's a bit more interesting room. You know what? I think the clarity, I'm going to go the opposite. I'm not going to do plus clarity. I'm going to do a minus clarity, a very small minus clarity, because I want this to be very natural. Okay. Next, I'm going to do some post-crop vignetting. I think that always helps in a room like this. Now, the only problem I've got left on this room is this. Look at the bed. This is not nice, and this is not nice. Now, I'm going to show you how to do it in Photoshop, and I'm going to show you how to correct it in Lightroom. So for the people that don't have Photoshop, first I'm going to do it in Photoshop. So I'm going to edit in Adobe Photoshop CC. All right, so I'm in Photoshop CC, and the first thing I'm going to do is drag and drop the layer here to duplicate it. And then I'm just going to zoom in, and I want to take care of the pillow. The idea is I just want to make these pillows a bit more pleasing to the eyes. So for this, I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and I think I'm going to go around 9 or 10, something like this. Okay? So now this whole layer is completely blurred. So what I want to do is create a black mask, which is going to make this entire layer invisible. So I'm pressing the Alt key and clicking on the layer. And if you want to know more about layer mask, check out my last free episode. I show you a bit the mechanism of the layers. Okay, then I'm going to take a brush, which is here, a little brush, making the opacity like around 50%. So I have a black layer, so everything there is not visible. So I want to paint with the opposite color, which is white. But I'm painting at 54%. Making sure I have a hardness at 0, so it's a very soft brush. And I'm just gonna make these pillows, less wrinkled. Okay, so here I am. I'm just gonna, it just makes the thing more pleasing, because when I see interior design photography, especially in hotels where there is beds or curtains and they're all wrinkled, it just drags my attention, and I don't think it's pleasing. You wanna make the place looks really awesome. Now, when you have a texture like this, you see there's a wrinkle there, there's a wrinkle there and there. It's kind of hard. So the only way to do it is with a stem tool. And that's kind of the limitation you have, because in Lightroom, you cannot do that. Oops, Command Z, stem tools is Alt and Control. And I just want to make this like this. And I just want to take some of the wrinkles out using the stem tool. Okay, making like, basically you press Alt on a clean place, and you copy and paste that texture over. Oh, okay, let me see, something is not right here. Oh, I know what's not right, is I'm on a layer. That's my mistake. So once I'm finished with that, I can just select both layers and press Command E. Then I'm gonna reduplicate the layer, because now I'm gonna take care of this part here using the stem tool. So I'm taking the stem tool, or pressing S, making sure I have a clean texture like here, and then I'm just gonna copy it here. I just want to Command Z. I didn't do a good job. You need to make sure you're well aligned, like starting at the bottom, going at the bottom, and then just going back up. What I'm trying to do is get some of the wrinkles, less visible. Something like this. Something here. I'm going to take a texture and I'm going to put it over there. Something like this. Okay, no, not that last one, because there's a bit of different colors. It's very subtle, but I just want to get the attention off of some of these wrinkles here. And not always very easy. Stem tool is not a precise thing, but that's it's still a bit better. You see, it's still a bit better. Okay, especially here on the pillows here. Okay, that's it. I mean, it's not a huge deal, and I'm just gonna File, Close, Save, and go back to Lightroom. So I'm back in Lightroom, and now I have the photo which is imported, and I'm just gonna press I to take this out. You see, there's a little white border that came when we did the lens correction, so I have to crop it out. Okay, because when you do the lens correction, that can happen. And basically, that's it. At this point, maybe I had a bit more of magenta and take a little less of the yellow, but then it's a matter of taste. I could do so many things, but that's the basic idea. Now, if you want to do the pillow story and you don't have Lightroom, what you can do is zoom in, So I'm taking back the original raw file that's not been processed by Photoshop. I'm taking this brush, and this brush, I'm going to go to exposure, not exposure, I'm sorry, clarity. I'm going to go to a minus clarity, big time. Oh, I've already done it actually. So let me show you before. I had done it already, but this is what I do. So minus clarity, and I just brush with some minus clarity over the pillow. Now it's not as good as the Gaussian blur, to be honest. It's not as good, but you know, some people don't have Photoshop, so you can still improve a bit your photography. If you think it's not enough with clarity, you can do a minus sharpening on the top of it. It's gonna make the pillow pretty smoother. Okay, but the problem is that this technique is not going to work on a very texturous matte last like this, because it's going to look weird. So I'm going to Command Z. That this part I cannot do in Lightroom. But anyways, I just wanted to show you this little trick. It can you know, save you in case you don't have Photoshop. But I rather, you know, I like the final result with Photoshop, and that's what it is. So that's how I retouched that photo of the Hotel Abbaye, and I know a lot of people have a lot of interest about interior design photography, and I thought they would enjoy it. Okay, back to me. All right, mesdames et messieurs, thank you very much for being there, and I will see you in the next episode. Mesdames et messieurs, au revoir.